You pushed me into this. I'm sorry, but I can't let you spoil my marriage and reputation. Nobody will find out about this.
The courtroom was packed every single day. Reporters crowded outside. Strangers lined up hoping to watch the proceedings in person. And through all of it, Emily attended every session, quietly, silently. She sat beside her parents, wearing dark, simple clothes, her face completely unreadable. She never once looked at Austin directly, unless she absolutely had to. Austin barely looked like the same man anymore. The confident smile was gone. The charm was gone. Even the way he carried himself had changed. He looked smaller now somehow, like guilt had physically hollowed him out from the inside. His lawyer tried everything possible. He argued that the death wasn't planned, that Austin panicked, that fear destroyed his judgments, that he never intended for things to go that far. But the prosecution destroyed every excuse one by one. Because at the center of the case was one simple truth. Jade had trusted him, and he had killed her to protect himself. That truth was impossible to soften. When Emily finally testified, the courtroom became completely silent. She walked to the witness stand calmly and sat down without looking toward Austin. Her hands remained folded neatly in her lap the entire time. The prosecutor asked gentle questions first, about Jade, about their relationship, about the marriage. Emily answered quietly. Then came the harder questions. When did you first suspect something was wrong? Emily swallowed slowly. The smell, she whispered. The courtroom stayed painfully still. Emily explained, finding the disturbed soil. Digging, seeing the finger. Her voice trembled only once. When she described realizing it was Jade, Austin sat motionless during her testimony. But when Emily finally looked toward him for the first time, something inside him completely collapsed, because there was no anger in her eyes. That would have been easier. What Emily looked at him with was worse. Disappointment. Pure, devastating disappointment. Like she no longer recognized the man she once loved. Like he had become a complete stranger to her. Austin lowered his eyes immediately and never looked at her again for the rest of the trial. The jury deliberated for less than 5 hours. Everyone already knew the verdict before it was announced. Austin stood silently as the foreman rose to speak. We find the defendant guilty. Emily closed her eyes briefly. Her mother began crying softly again. Austin didn't react, at least not outwardly. But inside, something final had broken. The judge was a stern, gray-haired woman who had spent over 20 years handling serious criminal cases. And even she looked disturbed while delivering the sentence. She spoke first about Jade, a young woman with an entire future ahead of her, but lost it while chasing the wrong thing. Then she spoke about Emily, about betrayal, about trust, about the unimaginable cruelty of what had happened inside that marriage. Finally, she looked directly at Austin. This was not one terrible mistake, she said firmly. It was a series of selfish choices made repeatedly over time. The courtroom remained completely silent. You had countless opportunities to stop, the judge continued. Instead, every time you were faced with a choice between protecting others or protecting yourself, you chose yourself. Austin slowly lowered his head. Then the sentence came. Mr. Austin Reed, you are hereby sentenced to 40 years imprisonment, with no possibility of parole for the first 20 years. Emily inhaled sharply beside her mother. Austin closed his eyes briefly, and just like that, the rest of his life disappeared.